Hey guys, today I'd like to talk to you about the state of Buzzsaw, how it's actually still performing and things that 1.2 did, I guess. So first things first is that it's still viable, it still works, it's still pretty good. I just then spec'd this level 90 Ranger into it, and I have 11.7k DPS with whatever I've got lying around, which is still pretty decent stuff, mind you. I've got a 6 link, got just some wed there, bit of wed, bit of attack speed, bit of wed, and just whatever foil I have. The foil's not particularly great, but now more than ever, the more DPS the more elemental damage you get on your foil, the better it will be. Because your auras still provide a very large amount of damage, but now that you get a lot of elemental damage from the tree, and the auras were nerfed, the elemental damage on your gear does matter a bit more. As you can see, this one, not that great. I've got this one that's just a little bit better, and a little bit faster. Go from 11.7 to 12.1. So pretty much a perfect one should probably take me up to 13 or 14k. Anyway, so how I ended up speccing it was similar to what I posted in the 1.2 provisional trees, but I didn't go up and grab influence, because 4% reduce does not really let you run an extra aura on top of these current 4, which is Wrath, Haste, Anger, and Herald of Ice. My Herald of Ice isn't, it's only level 16 as well, by the way. So these are the 4 ones that are going to get you the most damage. Now, you do miss out on the purities that way, but right now I'm not using a lightning coil. I think an evasion chest can be still a really good option now as opposed to a lightning coil. Lightning coil is still really good, and is still probably going to be better, but evasion, given how much evasion things we pass through, and how well evasion works with acrobatics, which is now only 4 points away instead of 5 points away, I have 52% evasion on top of my shield for block. You can get a really insane amount of avoidance, and it works really well when you have a high amount. So if I was going to spec a Buzzsaw, I'd probably go for an evasion route to start with, and if I really am not surviving, I'd grab acrobatics. And if that's still really not doing it for me, I'd trade a few points of life and maybe attack speed and grab acro. If that's really not doing it for me, I'd try lightning coil, but I think an evasion chest is probably your go-to to start with. Alpha's house are only 2 exalts now as well. So that's pretty good for the spec. So anyway, I didn't grab the influence because it doesn't help you run a 5th aura at the moment. To run a 5th aura, you need to grab influence and the 4% reduce there. I also ditched that 4% reduce because it's not necessary either. You need to grab both of these if you want to run 5 auras and have a level 21 reduced mana, which I don't, and have +1 level of gem, so it ends up being level 22 reduced mana. At that point, you can run Herald of Ice on top of the main 3 plus a purity. But it's kind of whatever. Instead I grabbed a few more life nodes, grabbed these elemental damage nodes. I needed an int node to be able to wear whatever I'm wearing. And otherwise, yeah, not too much to say about that. I'd still use a Topaz, a Ruby, and a Zeri's Promise would be quite helpful at this point. Right now, I'm not using Life Leech. I have an added lightning damage gem in there. I'd probably use an added cold instead, but this is what the chest rolled, so I put a blue gem in there. And I have taken the 1% life regen node there on top of that one because you have to pass through it. So that puts me at 2% life regen, which is 177 per second, which is actually quite nice. So that should keep up a fair bit of sustain. I think you might be able to go without life leech given the buffed life flasks. So you'd use a eternal flask that helps you heal quickly. I don't remember what they're called, seething or something. And you'd also use a bubbling divine flask for the instant pot ones. Run both of those, so one here, one there. And you should be able to use those just to keep yourself up at all times on top of your life regen. Plus the Adziri's life flask. Pretty nice. So I personally think the build is still pretty good. In a pretty good place. You can get similar amounts of DPS to what it was before. And probably even more on the top end of perfect gear. But I'm not playing it right now because I played it for about 8 months. I'm just burnt out from it. And I more or less want to... I mean, there's so much change, there's so much new shit, I just keep wanting to try new specs and make new stuff and having lots of fun with other characters. I'm playing a Tornado Shot character at the moment, which is pretty fun. But I might come back to the Buzzsaw when I try Beyond out. I'm pretty sure I'm going to try Hardcore and Beyond. Maybe I'll try Tornado Shot. They both seem like pretty good safe specs to me, as opposed to some of my other ones which could have a few random deaths. So all in all, specs are still pretty similar. Take Acro if you want it. It does help a lot, believe it or not. Your DPS is still going to be pretty good, and your attack speed's still pretty damn fast. Buzzsaw is far from dead. And yeah, use a life leech gem instead of an LE damage gem, if you want. It'll help keep you alive, reduce your damage by a bit. Try and get some elemental damage on your rings, and amulets and gloves. Yeah, that'll help a lot. But the core basics are still there. Herald of Ice, nice little nifty thing to add to the arsenal. If you really want to build it for hardcore, I'd probably drop haste, put in Grace. Maybe run a Purity instead of Herald of Ice. I don't know. I think it could still be supremely tanky. One of these is something to think about. Might want to put a 1% life leech on. Maybe get a percent life leech there from... I think one of the masters can do it. I don't know yet. And maybe a 1% life leech somewhere around on a neck if you can find it. And I still don't know how the blood magic thing on chests or whatever works from masters, so that's something to be seen. If it's something that's like a prefix applied to an armor, then a rare evasion chest will probably be the way to go, because that could really make things quite insane. So that's some things to look out for. All in all, play the spec if you still really want to. It still works. And yeah, I hope you guys are having fun in the new expansion-y thing that we're all doing. Thanks for watching.